Welcome to my presentation on post-traumatic stress disorder, also known as PTSD. This condition affects millions of people around the world and can develop after experiencing or witnessing a traumatic event. Today, I will explain how PTSD impacts the brain, describe the symptoms commonly associated with it, and explain how recovery is possible through neuroplasticity and evidence-based treatments. We will examine the specific brain regions involved, including the amygdala, hippocampus, and prefrontal cortex, and discuss how these areas contribute to emotional and cognitive symptoms. In addition, we will look at the role of neurotransmitters and hormones such as cortisol, norepinephrine, and serotonin, which influence mood, memory, and stress response. Understanding the biological and physiological mechanisms behind PTSD is essential for developing effective treatments and supporting those affected. We will also consider how PTSD impacts individuals across the lifespan. By the end of this presentation, I hope to provide a deeper understanding of PTSD and the pathways to healing. Slide 3. What is PTSD? PTSD is a psychological disorder that arises after exposure to trauma. Common causes include combat, sexual or physical abuse, serious accidents, and natural disasters. The condition is characterized by symptoms such as intrusive memories, nightmares, emotional numbness, hypervigilance, and avoidance of trauma-related stimuli. According to the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, PTSD is diagnosed when these symptoms persist for more than 1 month and cause significant distress or impairment in social, occupational, or other important areas of functioning. Recent studies emphasize the need to recognize cognitive dysfunction and emotional dysregulation as core features of PTSD, which may be linked to changes in the brain and function. This presentation will explore the neurological basis of PTSD and how it affects brain regions responsible for fear, memory, and decision-making. Understanding these mechanisms is essential for developing effective treatments and improving long-term outcomes for individuals affected by trauma. Slide 4. PTSD alters the function of several key brain regions. The amygdala becomes hyperactive, triggering intense fear responses even in safe environments. The hippocampus, which organizes memory and time perception, may shrink or malfunction, leading to flashbacks and confusion between past and present. The prefrontal cortex, responsible for decision-making and emotional regulation, becomes less active, making it harder to manage stress and fear. These changes correspond with the DSM-5 criteria for PTSD, which include intrusive memories, avoidance, negative mood, and hyperarousal lasting more than 1 month. Understanding how these regions interact provide insight in both the symptoms and potential recovery for pathways for individuals with PTSD. Slide 5. The amygdala plays a central role in detecting threats and triggering fear responses. In individuals with PTSD, this region becomes hyperactive, causing exaggerated reactions to neutral stimuli like loud noises or sudden movements. This leads to hypervigilance, anxiety, and avoidance behaviors. Emotional regulation strategies such as mindfulness and grounding techniques can help reduce these fear responses. Davis and Hammer discuss how amygdala dysfunction contributes to heightened emotional reactivity in PTSD. By understanding the role of the amygdala, clinicians can better target therapies that can calm the nervous system and help individuals regain a sense of safety and control. Slide 6. The hippocampus is responsible for organizing memories and understanding time. In PTSD, this region may shrink or function abnormally, making it difficult to distinguish between past and present. This dysfunction contributes to flashbacks where individuals feel as though they are reliving the trauma. The hippocampus also plays a role in regulation, emotional responses, and its impairment can lead to memory confusion and emotional instability. Hinojosa, George, and Ben Zion found that changes in the hippocampus are common in PTSD and affect memory clarity and emotional processing. Therapeutic approaches that stimulate hippocampal activity, such as EMDR and cognitive behavior therapy, may restore memory clarity and reduce the intensity of traumatic recollections. Slide 7. The prefrontal cortex helps regulate emotions, make decisions, and controls impulses. In PTSD, this region becomes less active, making it harder to manage fear and stress. A weakened prefrontal cortex allows the amygdala to dominate, leading to exaggerated fear responses and difficulty calming down. This imbalance contributes to symptoms like irritability, emotional numbness, and poor concentration. Iqbal et al. Explained that when the prefrontal cortex is weakened, the amygdala becomes more dominant, leading to stronger fear responses and difficulty calming down. Treatments such as CBT aim to re engage the prefrontal cortex by challenging negative thought patterns and promoting rational thinking. Slide 8. PTSD affects brain chemistry, particularly neurotransmitters and hormones that regulate mood and stress. Cortisol, the stress hormone, often becomes dysregulated, keeping the body in a constant state of alert. Norepinephrine levels rise, contributing to hypervigilance and sleep disturbances. Serotonin levels may drop, increasing the risk of depression and anxiety. These chemical imbalances interact with brain regions like the amygdala and prefrontal cortex, intensifying PTSD symptoms. Khabib et al. And Lopez and Crespo explain how these changes contribute to the emotional instability and impaired memory. Medications that target these symptoms, such as SSRIs, can help restore chemical balance and reduce symptoms. Slide 9. Effective treatments for PTSD focus on both psychological and neurological healing. Cognitive behavioral therapy helps individuals frame negative thoughts and strengthen the prefrontal cortex. Eye movement desensitization and reprocessing assists in the processing traumatic memories by stimulating bilateral brain activity. Mindfulness and relaxing techniques calm the nervous system and reduce amygdala hyperactivity. Susan T. et al. Found that EMDR improves memory and cognitive function. Lopez and Crespo explain how mindfulness supports emotional balance and brain healing. Combining therapy with medication, when appropriate, can enhance recovery by addressing both brain chemistry and thought patterns. Slide 10. PTSD can affect individuals across the lifespan. Children may experience emotional dysregulation, learning difficulties, and developmental delays. Adults often face challenges in relationships, work, and daily functioning. Older adults may struggle with memory decline, isolation, and worsening symptoms due to age-related brain changes. Early intervention is critical to prevent long-term consequences and support healthy development. Florinese and Khabib et al. Emphasize that PTSD can have lasting effects on brain health and emotional stability. Recognizing these impacts across the lifespan help clinicians and caregivers provide appropriate support. Slide 11. Researchers studied PTSD using imaging tools like MRI and PET scans, which show changes in the brain structure and activity. They also use psychological assessments and interviews to understand symptoms and treatment outcomes. These methods help identify how PTSD affects the brain and how therapy can help. Brain scans reveal abnormalities in the amygdala, hippocampus, and prefrontal cortex, while assessments track emotional and cognitive symptoms. Slide 12. In conclusion, PTSD is a serious condition that affects how the brain processes fear, memory, and emotions. It involves changes in the amygdala, hippocampus, prefrontal cortex, and neurotransmitter systems. Fortunately, the brain has the ability to heal the neuroplasticity, and treatments like CBT, EMDR, and mindfulness can make a real difference. By understanding the science behind PTSD, we can better support those who live with it and promote recovery with empathy and informed care. The DSM-5 outlines a diagnostic criteria helping clinicians identify and treat PTSD effectively. Research from Davis and Hammer and Hinojosa et al. Provides insight into the neurological changes that occur in PTSD. Recovery is possible, and with the right support, individuals can rebuild resilience and lead fulfilling lives.